My youngest just turned 1, so I figured this would be the best time to make a video about all the must-haves for when your baby is anywhere from 6 months to 1 year old. I have 2 kids. I have a daughter who's 3 and my son is, like I said, he just turned 1 year old. So I am a little familiar about all the things that you use during this time frame. And of course, you know, I say must-have, but that's loosely used. Babies only need so much, but everything that I'm gonna talk about are things that should just make your life a little easier. Everything that I'm talking about, I've either used through both kids or some things I discovered once I had my son, but I do use every single thing and I find everything really helpful. So I figured I'll start with eating because at 6 months, we all know that's like the big milestone of being able to start chewing and they start losing that tongue thrust so they can start having solids. And so the big thing is like, what's my baby going to eat? How am I gonna feed them? What do they need to be fed? And we're always talking about like the newborn stage, but we then have to look beyond that and say, okay, what do they need when they're 6 months? So when it comes to eating, of course, it's like, all right, well, where are they gonna eat? Can they sit up? All those kind of things. So you wanna find something that supports good posture. I personally love the Stoke high chair. It's a really popular name brand for high chairs. It's a really modern, sleek looking high chair. It doesn't really like disrupt the area as far as looks go, but not only is it aesthetically pleasing, it's also very functional and it grows with the child. Some of the things that I love about it is that its minimal build allows for really easy cleaning. So I had 2 high chairs. The one I had prior to the Stoke, it had a lot of crevices and that made it very annoying to clean because kids get very, very, very messy when they eat, extremely messy when they eat. And so you don't want to have to be digging inside crevices all the time or else, you know, food's gonna sit there and get old. So that's what I really like about the Stoke high chair. And then not only that, you can use it through, honestly, infancy. They even have an attachment where there's like a cradle, but they grow with it from 6 months. Then you can eventually remove the baby harness and just have it open so that your toddler or older child can use. I think it holds up to like 200 or 300 pounds. So even if you want to sit in it, you can sit in it. But you know, I don't know if that's recommended, but you can. So I really, really love that high chair. Now it is a little pricey. The price tag now after inflation is $299 for the chair with the baby set. And then you have to pay an additional $69 for the table attachment. So like I said, it is very pricey, but if you can afford it, it's worth it. It's, like I said, it's sturdy, it's mobile, it'll last a long time, it's very easy to clean. I love the Stoke chair. It matches I got a black one, so it like matches the colors in my house. My house is very like black and white. And there are some alternatives as well. I've seen one high chair recently that looked really functional and sleek, and that was called like the Lola high chair. Still has a high price tag though. That one is I think $269 with everything included. So you don't have to buy like the additional pieces to go with it. And then if you want something a little bit cheaper, there's also the Skip Hop Eon, E-O-N. That one's $100 something. Once again, it has most of the features of the more expensive one, but nothing for me compared to the Stoke. I'm just saying. And then if you're gonna go try to find something that's even more affordable, I think the main criteria I would look for are just sleek, not too many crevices, sturdy and good support for your baby to sit upright in their younger years. Of course, longevity would be nice, but if you're paying a little bit less, then maybe it won't matter so much if it has to last all the way through, you know, toddler stage. Another thing that I found really useful was when my daughter was like 8-9 months old, I wasn't living at home. We were away because of the nature of my husband's career. So I wasn't about to be lugging around a big old high chair. Instead, I went to Target and I bought a little booster seat that comes with a table attachment. And when I say that was so clutch, that was all my baby needed to eat. She sat up just fine. She had the table. I would just put her on the floor in front of a low table, or I put her on the floor with the little tray around her, or I would even strap her up into a seat like at the table so she can sit right up at level. I don't remember the cost of it, but it was, I mean, it was less than $100. It might have been like $40, $50, $60, maybe in that price range. And it worked perfectly fine. And if I had a bunch of kids, that's probably what I would end up resorting to because I'm not gonna have like a bunch of high chairs in my house, you know what I mean? But that is really, really good if you're looking for a budget-friendly option. All right, so what are they gonna eat with? Plates are a big thing. I have used several as my children have gotten older, so I've tried different things. Initially, I started with a silicone plate. This is what the silicone plate looks like. It's from Easy Peasy. I have several Easy Peasy products. They make a lot of silicone products. And one reason why you like silicone is because it is supposed to be safer for the child, especially if you're putting hot food in it, because you know plastic, it leaches those chemicals and you don't want your child to be digesting them. Silicone and stainless steel tend to be the better alternatives for the materials you want to use for your baby to eat in. This mat is something that I used when my baby first started eating, or honestly, sometimes I just put the food directly on the tray. You know, what do you really need this for sometimes? But as I get older, you know, you like to separate it and all that stuff, and you know, some things need to be contained in something, so you will eventually need a plate. This little like mat around it creates some resistance, and so it's difficult for them to just pull straight off. So that's a good thing about this, because if you don't know yet, your child will try to lift the whole plate and dump it on the floor. But little tip, normally once they start playing with their plate and try to dump it over, that usually means that they're done with their food. So for me, if I start seeing them play with their food, then that's when I pull away the food, because I'm like, okay, you're not hungry anymore because you're not eating, you're playing. And you know it, obviously I try to be sure that they're done, but that's normally a sign that they're done eating. And you know, we just say, all done, and then I take the plate away. The only thing I did not like about this was eventually I started to notice that it had a soapy taste. And so that's what kind of got me off of this. You can try it on your own, you can research it on your own, but I did see that develop. Now, that didn't stop me from using it again with my son. I had it already, so it was just convenient to use. But if you want to just avoid any possibility of dealing with that potential soapy taste, which might come from the soap you use or the dishwasher, I'm not really sure. But anyways, if you want to avoid that, then the next thing I would recommend is using these plates from Avanci. So Avanci also has a line of plates, spoons, cups, all that kind of stuff. This is obviously a stainless steel one. The portion sizes are a little bit bigger than the Easy Peasy, and because of that, it also lasts a little longer, like through toddlerhood. I used this with my daughter until she was 2 years old. It really did last a long time. On the back, you see there's nothing to hold it down, but that's because it has an attachment that you put on there. They have a removable so that you can clean it really well. But you put it on there and it creates like a suction, so you cannot pull it off. This one's really hard to pull off. And I guess they use that because it's, for when the child is older. But this is also a really good alternative, stainless steel, so you don't have any problems with worrying about leaching chemicals. And of course, there's no soapy taste or anything like that. I've had no problems with this. You can buy an entire set that has a plate, a bowl, which also has the suction attachment, and I got a spoon from them that has a silicone tip. That's nice because it's soft for their mouth when they're little babies. So in regards to plates, the last thing I'm gonna throw in is this plate, which is from Ahimsa. I hope I'm saying it right. I'm obsessed with these. I know this is 6 months to 1 year old, but I just want to throw this in because I love it so much. In case any of you guys have older children. When my daughter turned 3, she has a huge appetite, and those Avanci plates weren't cutting it because my girl, like me and her, can almost eat the same amount of food. So I'm like, okay, I need something bigger but still stainless steel. So I got this Ahimsa plate. I love them. They're made of stainless steel, but it has like that nice color because it's just cute to have colorful stuff for your kids. And this also comes with a whole set. It has a plate, the spoon and the fork, and then it also has a cup and a bowl which can actually fit in one of the trays. We use it every single day. It's a really nice set to have for an older kid. It's kind of big for like a baby. So the next thing is cups. So your baby is probably either exclusively breastfed or using bottles. So you want to get them transition into using a cup. A lot of people are familiar with sippy cups, but a lot of experts recommend using a straw or open cup because it improves like oral development and speech. It gets their tongue muscles and all that in the proper order. So because of that, I've never used a sippy cup, unless that 360 cup is considered one. That I did use that for a little bit with my daughter, but whatever. Main point is I mainly did not use one. I've always used an open cup or a straw cup. So Easy Peasy, they also sell straw cups, and what I like about their straw cups is that you can see it here. This is what the cup looks like. They have different sizes. They have a very small size for when they're like 6 months, and then this size is good for when they get a little bit older, like 9 months, 10 months, and 1 year old, and then they have a third size, which is even larger. And what's nice about this is that it serves as a straw cup, so that you can see the top, and this is where the straw will come out of. And then if you take it off, it also serves as an open cup, so you can use it for whichever. It's silicone, it's soft for them, so they can't hurt themselves, and if they drop it, it's no big deal, which it will get dropped. And the lid is actually pretty secure. So I love these as an all-around cup. And then I also have some stainless steel ones. This one's really small and cute, and it has a curved upper part for when your baby starts to drink water or milk or whatever you might put in here. And they learn, and it's gonna be messy at first. Everything they do is gonna be messy. When it comes to food, eating, drinking, it's just a messy process if you're allowing your child to try and like gain that independence with eating, especially if you're baby-led weaning. And don't expect your baby to get it the first time they try. The second time, it may even take a few months for them to really get a good grip on using the cup and the straw. Really, the straw I didn't try until maybe closer to a year, like 10 months is probably when I started introducing the straw. But the open cup I did start introducing pretty young. And if you introduce it to your child and they seem like they're totally not ready at 6, 7, 8 months, like you know, don't worry about it. Just try again next month or try again in a few weeks. And don't expect it to be perfect, you know, but it's good to just introduce them and they'll get it sooner than you expect. Now, as I said, it can get messy, very messy. So of course you're gonna want a bib. You've probably seen some of these bibs around. If you haven't, these are the best bibs of life, okay? It's silicone again. I don't think it really matters if your bib is silicone, but you know, it's silicone. And it has this little part, which when they eat, put it on their neck, it just catches all the large amounts of food that fall from their face. And so you're wasting less. You can just scoop it up and put it back on the plate, and eventually they'll get to the point where they're like, oh, there's food in here, and they'll scoop it out themselves and eat it. These are a must-have to me. I will not use any other type of bib. This is so clutch. You can find these on Amazon. They have plain ones, every color. They have stuff that have cute writing on it. Like these, you'll see a bunch of these. And then the only other type of bib that I would recommend is a little different. It's called it's like a smock bib or a long sleeve bib, and it looks like this. And this completely covers everything, their whole arms, their clothes. It has a little attachment in the back. And this is like what you'll see, it's a little dirty, we've used it a lot. But this is like almost like what you see people use when they're painting and doing artwork. It's similar, except this also has a little catcher on the bottom. I like packing this in the diaper bag to use for when we're like going out to eat somewhere, because you know, they may be wearing clothes that I don't want to get totally messed up, which is bound to happen. So this is nice for on the go. I use it at home sometimes too if they're eating something that's like extremely messy, but not so much. And since it's fabric, it's really easy to like fold up small and fit in the diaper bag. Okay, so let's move on to sleep. Lovely baby sleep. Don't we all love baby sleep? You know, by the time they're 6 months old, you've pretty much figured out your baby, what sleep is like, although sleep is a forever changing thing. I mean, I don't care. Even when they're 2 years old, you're still getting, now they're potty trained, and that's a whole nother topic. So your baby is a little bit older. You're probably not swaddling anymore, and babies absolutely cannot keep a blanket on. So one thing that I've found really useful is a sleep sack. I love my Kite Baby sleep sack. It's soft, it has a good thickness, and you can actually choose your preferred thickness. But Kite Baby is a really good brand for a sleep sack. But there's like a bunch of different brands and price ranges that you can find those in. You can easily find them at like Target and stuff. It looks like a dress that's closed in on the bottom with a zipper. But it's a blanket, so they can roll around and do black flips, and that blanket is not going anywhere. So you just know that your baby's gonna be really warm. And it's nice when they have like a two-way opening, which a Kite Baby has. You can zip it from the top or zip it from the bottom for easy in and out, or access to diaper changes or anything like that. My son is 12 and we're still using the sleep sacks. I've been using them for quite a long time. So another thing that's just like a little suggestion is that when your baby gets a little bit older, like maybe closer to 1, it might not be a bad idea to introduce a blanket. So with my daughter, she has a blankie that till this day she uses. Like it's like she has to have her blankie to go to sleep. And yes, it is something that like she's very attached to and she really wants when she's ready to go to sleep, but it's also like a comfort object. And it's kind of like, I know if she has her blankie, like she's about to get real cuddled up and go to sleep. And so there's just that, I don't know, comfort in knowing she has that little object with her, even though she sleeps with us. So like it's for her comfort too. But like anywhere we are, we just know she has her blankie, she's good. So it's just cool for them to have that little object with them. If you're interested in introducing a blanket, you just have to be consistent and give it to them all the time. And eventually they'll be like, oh, I like this thing with me. To be honest, I didn't do that with my son. I mean, like we have a blanket and I have it around him, but I'm not sure why I didn't. It just didn't happen. And I guess he's 1, I could do it now, but I don't know. He's all right, so whatever. But I do think it's cute that my daughter has her blanket. And we have, honestly, we have like 5 blankets that are all pink. As long as it's a pink soft blanket, she's good. Oh, and that's probably another tip. Like if you want to have some flexibility with the blanket so your child is not freaking out, like you've heard stories of people freaking out about a blanket, like have something similar about the blanket, like maybe the color, and you can trade it out a little bit, and then your child will just be like, okay, as long as I got this pink blanket or this circle blanket or whatever it may be, I'm good. Okay, so another thing with sleep, depending on your style of sleep, whether you sleep alone, you sleep train, you do cribs, you co-sleep, you're all in one bed, you're both in the same room but not in the same bed. You know, at some point we're all thinking about, okay, what's the next step? A lot of people do cribs. I don't do cribs, never had a crib. Like I said before, I co-sleep. But with my daughter, when she turned 2, I decided to get a toddler bed, a toddler floor bed. And so that's what we have, and that's what I intend on using with my son too. So if you're looking for an alternative from a crib, which they will grow out of, you can just go straight to a toddler floor bed instead. There's railings on all the sides, so you're not concerned about them like rolling out. And then also, because it's low to the floor, if they do crawl out, you're not concerned about falling. And I actually like it, so my son takes naps in the toddler bed. And if he's up and for whatever reason, if I'm a little too slow to get to him, he'll just crawl right out. And it's, you know, I don't have any concerns. So I really love that about the toddler bed. So just throwing that out there for something for you to think about as an alternative. And our toddler bed is in our bedroom. I'm just more comfortable with that. I got ours off of Etsy. Now, the last thing about sleep is not even sleep related, but I had no category to put it in, so I just threw it in here. So I have this thing called the Tush Baby. Love. I developed back pain after having my daughter, like intense back pains that I go to physical therapy for. And I didn't want to start back up again this time. And so my physical therapist actually recommended that I get this. It's basically like a hip carrier. So you know when they're little babies, you normally have a front carrier. This one is like a belt attachment that you wrap around your waist. And then it has this little area that projects outward that you can place the baby on and sit. So instead of all of the weight being on your hip and you having to maybe poke your hip out and shift to hold the baby, instead with this, you just place the baby on it and it takes some of the weight and the strain off of your body. I find it extremely useful for like if you're doing long trips. Like I went to New York recently, which you should catch my New York vlog. But I went to New York recently and I used it and it was so good for all that walking. I didn't have any pain over the 5 days of my vacation, and that says a lot because I get really bad pain. So I really recommend this. Like, you know, it might mess up your swag a little bit, but it's cool. You know, just get one of the cuter ones, and sometimes functionality beats it all. Okay, so the last section is playing and learning materials. So what I love about this age is that they finally start being able to like interact. You know, when they're so young, they're just like looking at the sky and like rolling around. But I love when they get, you know, 6 months, they start to move, and when they get 1, I love 1. I love 1 because they can do so many things and they're just much more interactive and happy and fun, and they want to explore and learn. And yeah, they're busy and they get into everything, but like, I love it. So I have quite a few things on this list that I found really helpful, fun, just good for them to have. For starters, a must-have for me is a learning tower. I am obsessed with learning towers, and I was very into Montessori with my daughter, and I plan on getting into it with my son. It's just been a little harder with 2 kids, I'm not even gonna lie. But the learning tower is basically, you can think of it like a step stool or a ladder, but it's like more of an encased thing to prevent them from falling, and it allows them to be at counter height. When you're doing things like cooking, cleaning, washing dishes, or just anything at counter level, they're able to stand in there and be with you and do activities with you, or just help out with you, or just feel like apart. And that was really helpful for me because my daughter would be, I would be in the kitchen and my daughter would literally be like on my leg, or my son will be on my leg, and I'm trying to do something, and all they want is to be apart or to see what you're doing or to be involved. And so this learning tower allows them to be with you. It frees up your time, and it also gives a good learning opportunity for your child because you can now include them. Like, I may be chopping a bell pepper and then my son can just play with a bell pepper. Like, I don't know, just whatever. It doesn't take much to entertain them. Or I may be doing something and I will set up an activity next to me so that they can be entertained in the kitchen while I'm doing it. I have used that for a very long time. I still use it with my 3-year-old today. That would probably be one of my most used baby items, and I highly recommend getting one. Mine is from Etfet. I don't know, some European company. I'm gonna tag it, but there are a bunch of brands that you can look into. I just love mine because once again, it's black, sleek, goes with the decor, and it has like these gold latches that just made it more like, I don't know, aesthetically pleasing or whatever. But I really love my learning tower. So highly recommend a learning tower. Okay, so second thing is a water table or a sensory table, whichever one you wanna call it. Once again, very Montessori-esque, but I love these as well. High use out of this, also for a very long time. I got mine from IKEA. It has 2 openings where you can put like a bowl, or you can just make it like a flat table. And the amount of things you can do with these are endless. You can do water play, you can put sand in there. You know, you see people doing those creative things with like rice and hide and seek, and like, I don't know, just whatever you want to do, you can use it for. Like, the options are endless. They will continue to use it when they're 2, when they're 3, when they're 4. And if you have multiple kids, they can plan it together. I truly love this. You can look up, there are some people who have like Instagrams or TikToks devoted to the different things that you can do with the sensory table. So I would really, really look into getting that. And of course, you know, there's different types, but I personally love the one from IKEA. Okay, so as far as mobility, you know, we all know when they're 6 months, you know, they eventually start learning how to crawl. Then the next thing is cruising, walking. And we're all familiar with the traditional walker where you sit them in it and then they, you know, they go around, do their thing, which is super convenient in the sense that like they can kind of entertain themselves for a little while. But occupational therapists and experts, they say that it's not the best thing for development. It doesn't promote proper body mechanics and mobility and all kind of things. So what people recommend is using a push walker, which is the opposite. It promotes proper body mechanics and all those kind of things. And it also helps them by learning how to like get up and stand on it and then push on their own. And then they can do it at their own readiness. When they're ready, they can just go and push it. And they can also use it at their own pace. The stronger they get, the further they can walk. And of course, like in the early stages, you have to help them with it. But it's a really useful tool. You can get like a wagon type, which is cool for them because they can fill stuff in it and then push it, and it's just more fun for them. Kids just love, I don't know, filling stuff up with stuff and moving it. I do have a traditional walker because we were gifted it with my daughter. I have used it like very rarely, but I have used it, so I understand the convenience in it. At the end of the day, I just think it's like everything in moderation, right? You just don't want to do anything too much. But if you're trying to choose between the two, or you weren't familiar with the recommendations on it, just throwing that out there. So one of the really popular toy brands is Love Every. If you haven't heard of it already, I love Love Every so much. They're Montessori based or inspired, but it's not 100% pure Montessori. If you haven't already had a subscription by them, I would recommend doing it anywhere from 6 months to 1 year old. I remember I was talking with someone one time, they were asking me like what age do I recommend it, because they didn't want to start it so early in terms of like pricing and stuff. They didn't want to spend it and it wasn't beneficial. I think every stage is good. I think it's nice to have it from day one, but if you're trying to save a little bit, you definitely see more out of it as they get older, closer to 1, just because they're more mobile and they can really like interact and learn with the objects a little bit better. So I think that if you haven't already, this is a great time to get a Love Every subscription. I love it. It takes the thinking out of getting your toys. So the way it works is that every 2 to 3 months, you get a new box with toys that are developmentally appropriate for your child. You know, you put their age, all that, and it sends it out automatically. You don't have to think about it. These were pretty much like the main toys my daughter had growing up. She really didn't have any extra toys unless I researched something and bought it, or if someone else gifted her something. And she did really well with these. She absolutely loved them. My daughter still gets them to this day. I don't have any plans on stopping. So you should definitely look into it. If you haven't already, of course, you want to introduce books. So just to throw it out there, some of my favorite books are Brown Bear. My son will literally make me read to him over and over and over and over and over again, repeatedly. So Brown Bear is definitely a good book. I love that book. I also like Hop on Pop by Dr. Seuss. You know, a lot of Dr. Seuss books are really long. Hop on Pop is really short, and there's a lot of rhyming words in it, which helps them learn. So I really like Hop on Pop. And The Very Hungry Caterpillar is another one of my favorite ones. And that teaches a lot of things as well, including counting. You know, books are really like important to the development and stuff. Another small plaything before I get to the big ones are animal figurines, which I think are good like once your child gets to around 1 year old. These would be like realistic toy looking animals, like farm animals, for instance, or jungle animals. You can order off Amazon, and it's just really good for teaching them the animals, what they look like, the sounds. Is cool because they can feel it. They're really realistic looking, and it just takes it from being an object on a book to a real 3D life object. I really like those for learning once they turn 1 year old. So as far as the bigger things, 2 things that I have that my kids love. One thing I got recently is a ball pit, and let me tell you, they're in that ball pit every single day. I thought that like after 3 days, they're gonna be like, okay, I'm used to this ball pit. Every day they're in the ball pit. They love it. It's a little circular one. It doesn't take that much space. The balls get everywhere, I will say, but I don't even care. The way that they love and play with that ball pit, all for it. So once they get like 1 year old, that's a good birthday gift. And the second thing is a nugget. Love the nugget. It's basically like a soft play type of thing, but it has this velvet texture on it. You can get any color you want. It's so versatile. You can literally make it a couch. They can build a house with it. They can climb on it. Got this for my daughter. Well, I was gifted it from my best friend when my daughter turned 1, I believe. So I had it from when my son was a baby. We started using this thing when he started crawling, so like 6 months. And I would put it down, and eventually he would like push to stand on it, and he just like to sit and play on it. This gets a lot of use. My daughter, she will build contraptions with it, put stuff over it, make a little house. So that's a very versatile gift, and you can, when you're done with it, you can fold it up, put it in the corner, and it can, it can serve as a couch or a reading nook. I really love that as a good versatile play item. Like I said, these are all things that I have used. I'm not recommending anything to you to try to get some money or sell a product, because your girl is not sponsored, although I accept sponsorships. I am genuinely telling you things that have worked for me or that I found beneficial. All the links are going to be below. It's affiliate links, so I do get something if you purchase it. That's the only benefit I get. But yeah, so make sure to click and use those links if you plan on getting anything that I recommended. And for those of you who are new here, I make motherhood and lifestyle content, so make sure to like this video, subscribe, and if you've made it this far, I mean, we're pretty much besties, so you might as well just join the ride. But thank you for watching, and if you're still watching, then I should note that I plan on making a few more videos regarding these topics, like for newborn stuff, possibly breastfeeding, so make sure to subscribe and stay tuned if you want to see more of that. Catch y'all later.